Before I begin, I must say this. What I am about to share is not easy. It is heavy, painful, and true to the heart of many who suffer in silence. Once you start reading, you may feel something pulling you to stay, to listen, and to understand what it truly means to search for truth when truth has a cost. This story may sound simple, but inside it are tears, fear, courage, and hope. Please read with an open heart, because someone somewhere is living the same life right now. Before we go on, please comment where you are watching or reading from. Let us know your country or city so we can connect as one family and continue to pray for one another. I was born into Islam. I did not choose it. It was chosen for me the day I was born. In 2014, when I was 15 years old, my world was small but very strict. Our house was always quiet in the morning, except for the sound of prayers and instructions. Every day followed the same pattern. Wake up early, wash, pray, obey, never question. I grew up believing fear was the same as respect. I believed that being silent meant being good. I believed that pain was a test and tears were weakness. My mother was kind but careful. My father was firm and unquestioned. In our home, religion was not discussed, it was enforced. I learned early that rules mattered more than feelings. If I was tired, I still prayed. If I was sick, I still obeyed. If I was confused, I stayed quiet. I watched other children laugh freely, but my laughter was measured. Too much joy could look like rebellion. At school, I wore my faith like a uniform. Teachers praised obedience. Any child who asked too many questions was warned. I saw what happened to them. Some were beaten at home, some were isolated, some disappeared from school, and no one asked why. Fear taught us faster than books ever could. Inside me, something felt heavy. I could not name it, but I felt it every night when I lay on my mat after prayers. My heart felt empty even when I did everything right. I asked myself why peace felt so far away when I was trying so hard to please God. One evening I made a mistake. I was slow to respond when called for prayer. My father noticed. His face changed, and the room became cold. He showed me anger through his actions, not words. I remember the fear in my chest, how my hands shook, how shame burned my face. That night I learned that love could be withdrawn if obedience failed. This was not the first time, and it would not be the last. In my community, religion was watched by everyone. Neighbors reported neighbors. Family members corrected family members. A small mistake could become a big accusation. Girls were watched more closely. Our clothes, our voices, our eyes, all were judged. Any sign of difference brought punishment. I saw a girl once who was accused of disrespect. People gathered. Adults shouted. She cried. No one defended her. I stood still, unable to help, learning a lesson without being touched. That day taught me that survival meant blending in. At home, I began to feel trapped. My thoughts felt dangerous. I trained my face to look calm even when my mind was full of storms. At night, I cried quietly so no one would hear. I asked God to help me, but I did not feel heard. Instead, I felt watched. Persecution did not always come with blows. Sometimes it came with silence. Sometimes with threats. Sometimes with rejection. I was corrected publicly. I was shamed privately. I was reminded that honor mattered more than happiness. That obedience mattered more than life. I remember one night clearly. The power was out. Darkness filled the house. I sat alone, hugging my knees. Fear felt like a shadow sitting beside me. I realized then that my faith was built on terror, not love. That thought scared me more than punishment ever could. From that moment, I started to change inside, even though nothing outside changed yet. I became more careful. I learned to hide my thoughts. I learned to survive. But persecution leaves marks. It hardens some people and breaks others. For me, it created questions I could no longer bury. Questions about God, questions about love, questions about freedom. This was my life in Islam, structured, controlled, watched, feared. And this was only the beginning. Something changed inside me before anyone noticed outside. It was quiet, slow, and dangerous. Once the questions started, they did not stop, and I knew that if they were discovered, my life would never be the same again. I felt suspense every day, like standing on the edge of a roof, knowing one step could send me down. The questions came to me at night. They arrived when the house was silent and the lamps were low. I would lie on my mat, staring at the ceiling, feeling my heart beat too fast. I wondered why fear followed me even after prayers. I wondered why peace felt like a stranger. I wondered why love felt conditional. I never asked these questions out loud. I knew better. I had seen what happened to people who asked too much. Teachers corrected them harshly. Family members distanced themselves. Some were punished. Others were watched closely, like criminals inside their own homes. At school, lessons became heavier. Religious lessons were not just about belief, they were about control. I was shown what obedience looked like and what rebellion cost. Pictures were drawn in our minds through stories of punishment. Fear was used as a guide. One day, I made a small mistake during recitation. It was not big, but it was noticed. The teacher's eyes rested on me longer than usual. I was made to stand while others sat. My hands trembled. I felt shame crawl up my skin. That moment taught me that even small errors could bring public humiliation. When I returned home, my fear followed me. My mother sensed something was wrong. She looked at me with worry, but also with caution. She showed me through her actions that asking questions could bring danger into the house. She protected me by warning me without words. My father became stricter. He checked my behavior more closely. He watched how I prayed, how I spoke, how I moved. I felt like I was living under a glass roof, visible from every angle. There was no place to hide, not even in my thoughts. Persecution does not always come with chains. Sometimes it comes with constant fear. It comes with watching your words. It comes with pretending. It comes with smiling when you are breaking inside. I began to isolate myself. Friends noticed I was quieter. I stopped laughing. I stopped sharing. I learned that silence was safer. Inside, my questions grew louder, but outside, I became smaller. One afternoon, I overheard adults discussing someone from our area who had chosen a different path. They did not speak kindly. They described punishment, rejection, and shame. I felt cold all over. I realized then that choosing differently did not only hurt the person, it hurt everyone connected to them. That day, fear became personal. I imagined my family being shunned. I imagined my mother crying because of me. I imagined my father turning his back. The weight of that fear sat on my chest. It made breathing hard. It made sleeping painful. Still, the questions did not leave. I asked myself why God felt distant when He was supposed to be close. I asked myself why rules mattered more than mercy. I asked myself why love was missing where faith was strong. These questions made me feel guilty. I felt dirty for thinking them. I begged God silently to remove them. But instead of leaving, they became clearer. It felt like something unseen was gently opening my eyes. The persecution inside was worse than the one outside. I punished myself with fear. I battled my thoughts. I felt alone even in crowded rooms. I learned that doubt could be more painful than hunger. At times, I wished someone would notice my pain and help me. But help was dangerous. Trust was risky. One wrong person could destroy my life. So I carried everything alone. This chapter of my life was filled with hidden tears, silent prayers, and unanswered questions. It was the season where fear ruled my days and silence ruled my voice. But even in that darkness, something small began to grow. Hope. And I did not know yet that this hope would soon bring the greatest persecution of all. What happened next was not loud, but it was powerful. It came quietly into my dark thoughts, and once it entered, it refused to leave. I tried to push it away, but the light kept finding me, even when I hid. The change did not happen in a single day. It came in small moments. Simple moments. Moments that felt harmless but slowly changed everything. One afternoon, while helping with chores outside the house, I noticed a small book left behind by someone who had visited earlier. I did not plan to touch it. I only looked at it for a moment, but something pulled my attention. I felt curious and afraid at the same time. Later that night, when everyone was asleep, I opened it quietly. My hands shook. My heart beat fast. I felt like I was doing something forbidden. The fear was heavy, but the curiosity was stronger. As I read, I did not feel threatened. I did not feel shouted at. Instead, I felt calm. The words showed me kindness. They showed me love. They showed me a God who cared deeply, not one who watched only to punish. I felt warmth inside, like a gentle hand touching a wounded heart. I learned about Jesus slowly, not through arguments, not through force, but through actions and meaning. I was shown compassion. I was shown forgiveness. I was shown sacrifice. I realized that He did not come to control people through fear, but to save them through love. This scared me more than anger ever had. I began to compare what I was feeling with what I had always known. One was heavy, the other was light. One brought fear, the other brought peace. I did not want to admit it, but my heart already knew the truth. I started to pray differently, not with memorized words but with feelings. I asked quietly for guidance. I asked for protection. I asked for understanding. And for the first time in my life, I felt heard. But light attracts attention. I became more careful. I hid the book. I hid my thoughts. I hid my emotions. At home, pressure increased. My family sensed distance. They did not know why, but they felt it. Suspicion filled the air. One evening, my father watched me closely during prayer. His eyes followed my movements. Fear returned like a storm. That night, I was questioned through actions and strict rules. I was reminded of consequences. I was warned without words. Persecution began to grow strong. At school, religious lessons became rare. I was shown punishment stories. I was reminded of time. I was reminded of shame. It felt like the world was closing in. Inside, the light did not leave. Even when I cried. Even when I was afraid. Even when I wished it would stop. I felt torn between two worlds. One demanded obedience without love. The other offered love and sacrifice. Choosing one meant losing the other. The fear of discovery became constant. Every knock on the door scared me. Every question felt like a trap. I lived with a secret that could destroy my life if revealed. I saw how people treated those suspected of leaving. They were beaten. They were insulted. They were isolated. Some were forced into marriage. Some were locked indoors. Some vanished from the community. I knew that if my truth came out, my suffering would be worse. Still, the light remained. It gave me strength to endure insults. It gave me courage to survive fear. It gave me hope when everything around me felt dark. This light did not promise safety. It promised truth. And I was beginning to understand that following truth would cost me everything. This was the moment my persecution moved from fear to reality, and the worst was yet to come. This was the chapter where fear stopped being a feeling and became my daily life. The struggle was no longer only inside my heart. It began to touch my body, my family, and my future. I knew I was standing between two paths, and both were painful. The battle inside me grew stronger each day. I woke up with fear and slept with fear. My mind felt like a place of war. One side demanded silence and obedience. The other side pulled me toward truth and peace. I felt tired all the time, not from work, but from hiding. I tried to live normally, but everything felt different. My prayers felt empty when forced. My heart felt alive only in secret moments when I thought about Jesus and the love he showed. This made me feel guilty and afraid at the same time. My family began to notice changes. I was quieter. I avoided eye contact. I spent more time alone. My mother watched me closely. She showed concern mixed with fear. She warned me through her actions that danger was near. One evening, suspicion became clear. My father searched my room while I was away. When I returned, the air felt heavy. Objects were moved, my heart dropped. I knew something had changed forever. That night was long and painful. I was questioned without kindness. I was pressured without mercy. My faith was tested through fear. I was reminded of family honor, shame, and punishment. I was shown that disobedience could destroy everyone I loved. Persecution became physical. I was denied food for a time. I was isolated from others. I was watched constantly. Every movement I made was questioned. Every silence was suspicious. I felt like a prisoner in my own home. My body felt weak, but my heart refused to give up. Inside, I cried silently. I asked God for help. I asked Jesus for strength. I felt comfort even while suffering. That comfort became my secret source of survival. At school, things became worse. Rumors spread. Friends avoided me. Teachers treated me differently. I was corrected harshly. I was humiliated publicly. I was made to feel dirty and dangerous. I learned what persecution truly means. It means being alone in a crowd. It means being hated for thoughts you never spoke. It means losing safety, comfort, and belonging all at once. Some nights, I was threatened with being sent away. I was shown what would happen if I continued on this path. I was reminded that girls who disobeyed could be forced into marriage or locked away. Fear wrapped around me like chains. My mother cried quietly. I saw her pain. It broke my heart. I felt torn between love for my family and loyalty to truth. I wished I could take everyone's pain away, including my own. There were moments I almost gave up. Moments I thought of pretending forever. Moments I thought of burying the light inside me. But every time I tried, the peace left me, and darkness returned. I realized then that this battle was not just about religion. It was about freedom. It was about choosing love over fear. It was about truth over survival. The persecution shaped me. It hurt me. It changed me, but it did not destroy me. I learned that following Jesus did not remove suffering. It gave me strength to endure it. By the end of this chapter of my life, I knew one thing clearly: I could not go back to who I was before. Even if it cost me everything, my soul had already chosen. And soon, that choice would lead me into the greatest loss and the greatest freedom I had ever known. This is the part of my story where everything was taken from me, and yet everything was given to me. What I lost can be counted, what I gained cannot. Please stay with me, because this ending was paid for with tears, pain, and courage. The final breaking point came quietly. There was no noise, no crowd, no shouting, just a deep knowing inside me that I could not continue living two lives. My body was tired, my heart was wounded, but my soul felt awake. I knew that following Jesus meant losing my place, my safety, and my family's approval. I had already tasted rejection. I had already felt punishment, but going back felt like death inside. One night, after another day of watching fear and control, I made my decision. I did not announce it. I did not fight. I simply surrendered my heart fully to Jesus. I trusted him with my life, even if it meant suffering more. Soon after, the persecution reached its peak. My family's behavior changed completely. I was no longer treated like a daughter. I was treated like a threat. I was isolated. I was denied basic care. I was reminded daily that I was a shame. I was pressured to repent back, not with love, but with force. I was locked indoors for days. Food was limited. My body weakened. My heart ached deeply. I cried alone in the dark, not knowing if anyone would ever help me. The pain was real. The fear was real. The loneliness was crushing. Some relatives showed anger. Others showed silence. Silence hurt the most. It felt like I had died, but my body was still breathing. Eventually, I was sent away, removed from the home I knew, separated from everything familiar. I walked into the unknown with nothing but faith. No money, no plan, no protection, except trust in Jesus. Freedom did not feel joyful at first. It felt terrifying. I slept in strange places. I depended on kind strangers. I lived with uncertainty every day. But even in that hardship, I felt something I had never known before. Peace, real peace. I felt loved without fear. I felt accepted without conditions. I felt forgiven without punishment. Jesus showed me that suffering for truth was not failure. It was faith. The scars remain. The memories remain. Persecution leaves marks that do not fade easily, but they remind me that I chose life over fear. Today I live differently. I am not rich, I am not safe in the world's eyes, but I am free, and that freedom is worth everything I lost. To Christians around the world, I ask you with a heavy but hopeful heart, please pray for those who are persecuted for their faith. Pray for those locked in homes, beaten, rejected, forced into silence, or living in fear because they chose Jesus. Pray for strength, protection, and endurance. Also pray for those who are still searching, those trapped by fear, those who want freedom but are afraid of the cost. If you desire to turn away from sin and give your life to Jesus, you can do so right now. You can speak to him from your heart. You can tell him you believe he died and rose again. You can ask him to forgive your sins. You can surrender your life to him and ask him to lead you from this day forward. He listens. He saves. He gives new life. May God give you courage, compassion, and love. This is not just my story. It is the story of many, and it is still being written.